Yeah, this is Rick Ness. Yeah, I think you got something of mine. Listen, I know that you took my 10-inch suction line, all right? No, I know. No, hey, listen, you listen.
From a water pump failure that left Rick Ness losing $20,000 in gold production to a dramatic 4-day scramble to get the machinery back on track, the stakes couldn't be higher for his team at Duncan Creek. In the 2023 season of Gold Rush, Rick Ness finds himself facing one of the most critical setbacks of his mining career at Duncan Creek. Known for his unrelenting determination, Rick has weathered many obstacles in his mining operations, but this particular incident threatens not only his season, but also his team's morale. The issue arises when Rick's water pump, a crucial piece of equipment in his gold mining operation, breaks down. This malfunction halts the entire mining process for 4 agonizing days, a delay that proves costly both in time and money. Each day the pump is out of commission, Rick loses precious hours that could have been spent washing dirt for gold extraction. By the time the issue is resolved, the downtime has cost him nearly $20,000 in lost gold production, leaving his season hanging by a thread. The importance of the water pump. In gold mining, a water pump serves a singular but vital purpose: to provide the water flow necessary for the wash plant to function.
And once we got the line, that discharge line hooked up, then we can pick the whole pump up, kind of put it where we want it, and that line will follow it.
Some big stuff we're working with here. We'll get there.
The wash plant, an essential piece of machinery, uses water to clean dirt and debris from the pay dirt that potentially contains gold. Without the steady flow of water, Rick's entire operation grinds to a halt. It's a race against time, as the mining season in the Yukon is short, and every hour lost impacts the overall yield. Rick has set a weekly goal of extracting 20 ounces of gold, a target that requires everything in his operation to run smoothly. With the pump failure, Rick's ability to meet this goal becomes increasingly unlikely with each passing day. The frustration is palpable, as he knows that failing to reach his target could result in financial ruin. Every minute the water pump isn't working equates to lost gold, which directly affects his profits and the livelihoods of his team. Let's break down the technical side of this situation, because for those interested in the mechanics behind gold mining, understanding how the water pump fits into the bigger picture is crucial. How the water pump works in the wash plant system. At the heart of any gold mining operation is the wash plant, and it can't function without one critical component: water. That's where the water pump comes in. Its job is simple in theory but absolutely essential. It draws water from a nearby river and sends it through pipes to the wash plant.
How about your child with a new toy?
Oh, it's awesome. Glad it worked out.
Oh, she works good, buddy.
Well, I'm glad we could help you out. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
We're back in business.
Risky business.
Risky business.
Once there, the water flows into the sluice box, a long, narrow box with ridges where water helps separate the gold from the dirt and gravel. The water needs to be constant and strong, as it's the force of the water that washes away lighter materials, leaving the heavier gold behind. Without that steady stream, nothing moves, and no gold is separated from the pay dirt. How debris affects the pump. Now here's where things can go wrong. The water pump relies on a suction system that pulls water from the river, but it's also pulling in anything that's in the water. Fine particles like sand, dirt, and small debris. When you get spring runoff, like Rick faced at Duncan Creek, all that melted snow and rainwater carries extra sediment downriver, and that sediment can clog the pump's intake system. The intake is like a filter, but it's only designed to handle so much. When it gets overloaded with debris, the water can't flow through it properly, and the pump ends up losing its efficiency, or worse, shutting down altogether, which is exactly what happened to Rick. The pump wasn't moving enough water to the wash plant, which meant the entire operation came to a standstill. The cause of the breakdown. The trouble begins when Rick notices that the water pump isn't functioning properly. His team is quick to investigate, pulling the suction basket from the river to inspect it for signs of damage or blockage. Upon closer examination, it becomes evident that the cause of the problem is sediment buildup. Due to the seasonal spring runoff, large amounts of dirt, sand, and debris are being carried down the river. This runoff is a natural occurrence, but its impact on the mining operation is severe. The sediment has clogged the pump's intake system, preventing it from moving water efficiently. Over time, the accumulation of debris overwhelms the pump, causing it to fail entirely. In gold mining, this type of mechanical failure is a miner's worst nightmare, especially during a crucial period in the season. Rick knows that without a functioning water pump, his wash plant is useless, and no gold can be extracted from the dirt. The financial and emotional toll. For Rick, this breakdown is more than just a technical issue. It represents a significant financial and emotional setback. At nearly $20,000 in lost gold production, the financial impact of this downtime is crippling. The loss is compounded by the uncertainty of when the pump will be fixed and how quickly the team can get back on track. Rick understands that time is money in the mining business, and every day of lost production makes it harder to meet his seasonal targets. The emotional toll on Rick is also immense. Known for his grit and resilience, Rick is not one to back down from a challenge. However, the prolonged downtime begins to weigh on him and his crew. Tensions rise as the team deals with the fear of an unsuccessful season, and Rick feels the pressure of leading them through this difficult time. The pump failure is a stark reminder of how unforgiving gold mining can be, where even a small mechanical issue can spiral into a major crisis. The repair process. Once the problem is identified, Rick and his crew spring into action to repair the pump. The task is not an easy one. The sediment needs to be thoroughly cleaned out, and parts of the pump's intake system must be replaced to ensure that it functions properly once reinstalled. Rick's team works tirelessly to fix the problem, but the process is time-consuming. Each passing day without the pump functioning means more lost revenue and a dwindling chance of reaching their weekly goals. Rick's experience with machinery proved invaluable during this time, as he works alongside his crew to troubleshoot the pump and get it back up and running. Despite the frustration and mounting pressure, Rick maintains his focus, knowing that the sooner the pump is fixed, the sooner they can resume gold production. The first step is always figuring out the exact problem. Rick and his team knew the pump wasn't delivering the water flow they needed, so they pulled the suction basket, the part that's submerged in the river, out of the water for inspection. It didn't take long to see that the basket was clogged with sediment, the spring runoff being the main culprit. The team had to remove all the dirt, sand, and debris from the suction basket. Depending on how clogged it is, this can be a time-consuming process, especially if fine particles have built up inside the pump's intake system. Once the debris was cleared, the team would have checked for any damage to the pump itself. Sediment can cause wear and tear on the internal components, especially if it's been running under stress. If any parts of the pump's intake or the impeller, the part that moves the water, were damaged, they'd need to be replaced. If any parts were beyond repair, the next step would be replacing them. This could involve anything from swapping out a damaged filter to replacing a worn-out impeller. This process can take time, especially if they don't have spare parts readily available. After cleaning the basket and replacing any damaged parts, the pump is reassembled and tested. The team would need to run water through the pump to make sure everything is working as it should. If the water flow is restored and the pump is back at full capacity, the operation can finally get back to work. Why this matters: the ripple effect. The breakdown might seem like a simple mechanical failure, but it's so much more than that. Without the pump, there's no water flow to the sluice box. And without that, there's no gold extraction. Every hour the pump is down, Rick's team loses valuable production time. With a short mining season, those hours add up quickly. The longer it takes to fix, the further behind they fall on their gold targets, making this one of the most critical pieces of equipment in the operation. It's not just about digging for gold, it's about keeping the machinery running smoothly, day in and day out. As the repair process drags on, Rick becomes acutely aware of the ticking clock. His weekly goal of 20 ounces of gold seems increasingly out of reach, and the thought of losing $20,000 in potential earnings weighs heavily on him. With each day the pump remains down, Rick knows that he is losing ground in the season-long race to extract as much gold as possible before winter sets in. The repair is finally completed after 4 grueling days, and Rick wastes no time getting back to work. However, the lost production time has already put him behind schedule, and he must now work even harder to make up for the lost gold. The pressure intensifies, but Rick's determination remains unshaken. He knows that setbacks are part of the mining business, and his ability to bounce back from this challenge will ultimately determine the success of his season. Historical context of gold mining challenges. Let's dive into a bit of history for a moment, because Rick Ness's challenges at Duncan Creek aren't all that different from what miners have faced for centuries. Back in the late 1800s during the Klondike Gold Rush, miners dealt with constant breakdowns and malfunctions too, but they didn't have the sophisticated machinery we see on Gold Rush today. Imagine trying to mine with nothing more than picks, shovels, and rudimentary sluice boxes. When something went wrong, they didn't have the luxury of calling in a mechanic or replacing parts. They had to fix everything by hand, or, in some cases, improvise using whatever materials they had on hand. Oftentimes a combination of sheer muscle and makeshift solutions. If a critical piece of equipment broke, it could mean the end of their operation for the season. Now, fast forward to today. Rick may have more advanced tools, but here's the kicker. The core challenges haven't changed all that much. Sure, he's got high-tech water pumps and wash plants, but when something as simple as sediment clogs the intake system, it's not all that different from the problems miners faced over a century ago. Back then, they were fighting the harsh elements, unpredictable weather, and failing machinery. Today, Rick is still at the mercy of Mother Nature, spring runoff, floods, and environmental factors beyond his control. In both eras, the battle is against time and the environment, and even with better tools, nothing is guaranteed. This parallel really drives home the point. Mining is still a gamble. It's a profession where, no matter how much you prepare or how advanced your equipment is, there's always an element of risk that can throw your whole season into jeopardy. Just like those early miners, Rick's success depends on how quickly he can adapt to these unexpected challenges. And in both cases, it's not just about the tools they have. It's about grit, determination, and the ability to keep going when everything seems to be falling apart. Environmental and seasonal pressure. The Yukon's harsh environment and brief mining season create immense pressure for miners like Rick Ness. The problem of spring runoff doesn't end with a single breakdown. As long as the spring runoff continues, the threat of sediment buildup remains, creating an ongoing risk that could cause further delays. The unpredictable Yukon weather adds to the challenge, with sudden storms and temperature swings threatening to halt operations at any moment. With such a narrow window to mine before winter sets in, every lost day puts Rick further behind his goals. If he can't keep his equipment running smoothly, he risks missing the peak production period, jeopardizing not just the season's success, but his entire operation. In the Yukon, miners are constantly racing against time and nature. And for Rick, this pump failure is a stark reminder of how unforgiving the environment can be. While skilled operators can control their equipment and manage their teams, they are at the mercy of the natural world. For Rick, the spring runoff serves as a harsh reminder that, no matter how prepared he is, the Yukon's environment will always be an unpredictable and formidable opponent. Potential long-term effects on the operation. In the high-stakes world of gold mining, setbacks like Rick's pump failure aren't just a bump in the road. They can be the kind of disaster that derails an entire season. The immediate impact is clear. 4 days of lost production at Duncan Creek cost Rick nearly $20,000 in gold. But the long-term effects of this breakdown could be even more severe, potentially putting his entire operation in jeopardy. If Rick can't make up for the lost time and hit his production targets, he may find himself facing a financial shortfall. Mining isn't just about pulling gold from the ground, it's about covering hefty operational costs, paying the crew, maintaining equipment, and investing in upgrades for the next season. If Rick falls short of his goals, he might not have the funds to cover these expenses, forcing him to make some tough decisions. As the season progresses, this breakdown could push Rick into a corner. He might have to work his crew harder, take bigger risks, or make difficult choices about where to cut corners, all while competing against other miners who aren't facing the same setbacks. In an industry where success is never guaranteed and the margins are razor thin, one equipment failure can have a cascading effect. If the pump were to fail again, Rick's season could be at serious risk, leading to more lost time and potentially even financial ruin. This breakdown is a harsh reminder of just how unforgiving gold mining can be. Every piece of equipment needs to run smoothly, and any downtime is a direct hit to the bottom line. Rick's pump failure isn't just about the gold lost in those 4 days. It's about the ripple effect that could stretch across the rest of the season, affecting every decision he makes moving forward. Comparisons to other miners on the show. Comparing Rick's struggles to those of other miners in the 2023 season provides a deeper look into the challenges and competition that define Gold Rush. While Rick is dealing with the breakdown of his water pump, other prominent miners like Parker Schnabel and Tony Beets are facing their own set of hurdles, but with notably different outcomes. This contrast not only emphasizes the unpredictability of mining, but also highlights Rick's resilience in trying to keep up with the heavyweights of the industry. Take Parker Schnabel, for example. Known for his careful planning and well-oiled operation, Parker rarely lets equipment failures derail his progress for long. While he's certainly faced mechanical issues, he has the experience, resources, and crew to address them quickly, often minimizing downtime. During the same period when Rick is struggling to get his pump back online, Parker might be facing environmental challenges like sediment buildup from spring runoff too. However, Parker's approach, having backup systems in place and his ability to make quick decisions, usually helps him stay on track. His well-funded operation allows him to throw money at problems that might sink smaller outfits like Rick's. This resource advantage underscores the stark difference between the two. While Parker might experience similar challenges, he's able to recover more efficiently, keeping his production levels high. Then, there's Tony Beets, a seasoned veteran who's no stranger to equipment failures. Known for his reliance on massive dredges and other heavy machinery, Tony often faces more severe mechanical issues than most miners. However, Tony's philosophy of fixing everything in-house with his team gives him an edge. Even when he encounters catastrophic breakdowns, his crew is typically quick to make repairs, keeping his operation moving. During this period, Tony may have dealt with dredge malfunctions or other technical issues, but his wealth of experience, combined with the ability to fix problems on site, often allows him to bounce back faster than miners like Rick, who are still developing that level of expertise. This comparison paints a vivid picture of the uphill battle Rick faces. While he struggles with a single water pump failure that halts his operation for days, Parker and Tony are able to keep their operations moving, even when confronted with similar or worse challenges. This contrast gives viewers a sense of the competitive landscape and the pressure Rick is under to keep up with these seasoned miners. It also highlights the importance of having a well-funded operation and a seasoned team, both of which Rick lacks in comparison to Parker and Tony. However, this doesn't lessen Rick's determination. Despite the odds stacked against him, Rick's ability to keep pushing forward, whether by working longer hours or making hard sacrifices, shows his grit and ambition. While Parker and Tony may have an edge in resources, Rick's raw determination adds a layer of tension to the season. It's not just a battle against time and the elements. It's also a race to prove that he belongs in the same league as the Gold Rush heavyweights. This rivalry and the ever-present question of whether Rick can overcome these obstacles to meet his targets add to the drama, making his story all the more compelling. The impact on the season. While Rick eventually gets his water pump back up and running, the impact of the breakdown is undeniable. The 4 days of lost production have cost him valuable time and money, and the effects are felt throughout the remainder of the season. However, Rick's resilience and leadership shine through as he rallies his team to push forward, determined to make up for the lost time. This episode at Duncan Creek serves as a reminder of the unpredictable nature of gold mining. Even the most experienced miners like Rick are not immune to the challenges posed by mechanical failures and environmental factors. Despite the setbacks, Rick's grit and determination to succeed in the unforgiving world of gold mining remain unwavering, making him a central figure in the narrative of the 2023 season of Gold Rush.